Today we're going to be taking apart and repairing the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium. This is the international version, so if you have a broken screen or charging port, this is the video to watch. First things, turn off the phone. Now to get off the back panel, it is glass. We have to be very careful with this, but we do want to warm up the adhesive underneath the panel. Once the adhesive is warmed up, it'll soften and allow you to remove the panel in one piece without breaking it. I'm taking a thin metal pry tool and sliding it around the edge to cut any of the adhesive, and then putting a playing card so it doesn't seal back down again as it cools. There is less adhesive up at the top, and I'll show you why in just a second. You can see the glue actually soften as I heat it up. Once I lift up the side of the back glass, you can see the NFC pad, which just rests on the motherboard, and you can also see two pull tabs. These pull tabs actually make it really easy to remove the back. I recommend lifting up the top of the glass and then pulling these pull tabs off of the side. That way you can remove the adhesive underneath the glass without bending it or breaking the back panel. Smart move on Sony's part. They have the same pull tabs underneath the battery, so to remove the battery it should be a relatively simple process if both of these pull tabs didn't break on me. Now we have to pry the battery out, which is a much more difficult process. Basically, I'm lifting it up with that same metal pry tool, making sure not to puncture the battery at all, and slicing away the glue that's underneath it. Heating up the phone every now and then from the front, making sure not to burn the screen, and then once all the adhesive is cut out, then the battery pops out. There's a bunch of random plastic brackets inside of this phone that I'll show you. There's one screw down at the bottom and then another plastic plate on top of the bottom part of the motherboard. Remove that and then unplugging the screen ribbon cable, just like a little Lego. Same thing with the charging port connector. Then there's 4 screws along the top of the motherboard. Remove those, and then there's another plastic bracket here. Set that off to the side. Make sure you keep these organized. Here's the 23 megapixel camera, unsnapping that from the motherboard. And then here is the ribbon cable for the power buttons and vibrator motor. This is the top ribbon cable for the front camera. Here's another random plastic bracket piece, set that off to the side. Pulling out the 5 megapixel front camera, and it has the same rubber hat that the Nexus 6P has. Very interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and put that hat back on and set it off to the side. Now there's 2 metal panels covering the vibrator motor and the loudspeaker, so I'm gonna unlatch those and put those off to the side as well. There are a lot of small components in this phone, so make sure you stay as organized as possible. I will link all the replacement parts in the video description. Here's another random plastic piece. Gonna set that off to the side as well. Same here. And then here's the power button and volume button rocker. It's clipped into the side of the phone with some plastic clasps. You can see here I have my fingerprint scanner. Once all those clasps are undone, the vibrator motor and all the buttons come away from the side. You can see how that spins around to vibrate your phone. There are the rest of the buttons, and then here is my fingerprint scanner. I do have the international version, which does come with a fingerprint scanner. The US version does not have a fingerprint scanner, surprisingly enough. The charging port is a cute little guy, just pops out of that little hole. It is water resistant, so that little red rubber piece on the end is what keeps the water from entering the phone. Now to remove the screen, it is similar to the back. We're going to heat it up to soften the adhesive underneath the glass, and then we're going to use a playing card to put in between the LCD and the metal frame, making sure that you're not trying to separate the glass and LCD because that would be futile. We only want to go from the LCD to the frame. That adhesive is actually separatable. Heat up the screen to hotter than you can touch, and then your card can slide in between. I am only doing this on the top of the phone, and you'll see why in just a second. As I cut away the adhesive around the edges, the screen will lift up along the sides. The glue is weird. I've never seen glue like this before. Has a similar Spider-Man effect with my playing card. Now that we've had sufficient fun, we can pull the screen away from the body. You can see that ribbon cable slide through the frame right there. And this is why we don't slide my card around the bottom edge of the phone, because it will break these ribbon cables. And since I'm planning on reusing my screen, if I tore these ribbon cables, the screen would not function anymore. So I was being super careful with them. So when you buy your replacement screen, most likely it will have adhesive already attached to it. I will link replacement screens down in the video description below. They will look exactly like this. So remove the protection off of the adhesive from your new screen and then just feed that ribbon cable into the little slot in the frame of the phone and press the screen into place. Make sure that the frame of your phone isn't bent at all, otherwise the screen might not line up correctly. So make sure you unbend your frame before trying to press the screen into place. Now I'm going to put the power button bracket back in. This also includes the vibrator motor and my fingerprint scanner. Gonna line all that up and then clip it into the side of the frame. There's a bunch of little clasps along the top. Making sure my buttons work, you will be able to feel them compress and decompress as the buttons line up correctly. Putting that random plastic bracket back into the bottom and then setting the vibrator motor down inside of that. Getting the metal latches back on the vibrator motor and the loudspeaker. Getting the charging port back into place. You can see it click in. Putting this random plastic piece back into place as well. Now this part was interesting. These are the heat pipes for the Sony Xperia Z5. You can see as I lift up this flap, there is liquid inside. You can get a better glance as I lift up this second part. It is a smashed tube of copper, but the entire thing is filled with liquid. Usually for applications of this temperature, distilled water is ideal. You can see it evaporate once that metal flap is lifted up. Thermal rubber stuff that sits on top of the heat pipe and lay that back down. Then the earpiece clicks into place as well, and then we can set the motherboard down into place. Make sure there's no ribbon cables underneath before you set it down. I'm going to go ahead and plug the headphone jack into place and the front-facing camera, and then I'm going to set the black plastic piece in top corner. Rear-facing camera goes in, plug that into the main board with a little Lego-like ribbon cable. Another plastic piece on the side of the main board there, clipping in the power buttons, and the other random plastic piece on top of the signal wire, clipping in the screen and the charging port. Putting the plastic piece over the charging port and the base of the motherboard, getting the battery back into place, clipping that down as well. Turning it on just to make sure everything works before I put the back panel in place. Want to make sure we do the least amount of work possible. There are 5 screws in the back of the phone, make sure all those are in place. They are different sizes, so make sure you get the right ones. And then I put double-sided tape since I'm reusing my same back. If you're replacing your back, it will most likely come with its own adhesive. Pushing that down in the back of the phone, and we are set. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I do appreciate it if you subscribe. It does mean a lot to me. And I post most behind-the-scenes stuff on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks a ton for watching. Hope to see you around.